So after discussing the methods of preparation of haloalkanes, today we are going to start the new topic, and that will be the properties of haloalkane. Today we are going to start a new topic, and that topic is properties of haloalkane, very important one for the study of the organic compounds. So be careful and attentive during discussion of this topic. First of all, we will discuss about the physical properties of haloalkane, and then we will discuss the chemical properties, which are very important for organic synthesis and the chapter which are going to be discussed by us later on. So be attentive. First, we are going to discuss about the physical properties, and in physical properties, first property we are going to discuss, that is physical state. Physical state. Similar to alkanes, haloalkanes, the lower member are gases while the higher member are waxy solids. Similar to alkanes, the lower members are gases while the higher members are waxy solid, and the reason is due to van der Waals forces. Weak van der Waals forces are present between the gas molecules, hence the lower member are gases, and with increase of number of carbon atom, the surface area of the molecule will increase, and which leads to increase of the van der Waals forces. That's why the higher member are waxy solids. Next property we are going to discuss, that is a very important one, and generally questions might be there on it, and that property is boiling point. Boiling point. First question may be, generally the boiling point of haloalkane are low. Why? Then reason is simple one, due to weak van der Waals forces. Second question may be there, the boiling point of haloalkanes are higher than corresponding alkanes. I am repeating, the boiling point of haloalkanes are greater than corresponding alkanes. Why? Then reason is that in haloalkane, the dipole-dipole interaction is present due to polar nature of carbon-halogen bond, but in alkane, the dispersion forces are present. I am repeating, the boiling point of haloalkane are higher than corresponding alkanes due to presence of polar covalent bond between carbon and halogen, or we can say that the stronger dipole-dipole interaction in comparison to dispersion forces in alkanes. Next question is very important one. What will be the order of boiling point of RF, RCl, RBr and RI? If alkyl group is same, then what will be the order of alkyl halide for different halogens? Here we have to see the extent of van der Waals forces, and I have mentioned the van der Waals forces will depend on the surface area. So larger will be the surface area of the molecule, stronger will be the intermolecular attraction, hence higher will be the boiling point. So order of boiling point should be RF as least, then RCl, then RBr and then RI. So order of boiling point, if alkyl group is same, then it follows the order RF, then RCl, then RBr, then RI. Now, if alkyl group is different, but halogen nature is same, then what should be the order? As for the alkanes, the boiling point will increase with increase of number of carbon atom. The boiling point of haloalkanes also increases with increase of number of carbon atom, and it is due to increase of van der Waals forces with increase of surface area. It is due to increase of van der Waals forces with increase of surface area. Now, next question is very important one, and trying to understand it. The increase of boiling point. The increase of boiling point for odd number of carbon atom is lesser than increase of boiling point for even number of carbon atom. Why? Question might be there. The increase of boiling point for odd number of carbon atom is lesser than increase of boiling point for even number of carbon atom. Then this effect is known as oscillation effect or orientation effect, because in the haloalkanes having even number of carbon atom, there will be symmetrical distribution of atom, but for odd number of carbon atom, there might not be the symmetrical distribution. That's why the increase of boiling point for even number of carbon atom is more than odd number of carbon atom. Now next question is also very important one. With increase of branching in haloalkanes, the boiling point will decrease. Why? With increase of branching in haloalkanes, the boiling point will decrease. Why? Here the reason is simple one, because with increase of branching the surface area will decrease, and which leads to decrease of the van der Waals forces. I am repeating, it is a very important question. With increase of branching in isomeric haloalkanes, the boiling point decreases. Why? Then reason is that because with increase of branching the surface area will decrease, that's why the van der Waals forces will decrease, and that leads to decrease of boiling point. Now question may be there, that is a very important question. Arrange normal propyl chloride, isopropyl chloride, tertiary butyl chloride, isobutyl chloride, then secondary butyl chloride, in increasing order of boiling point. That is a very important question. Here first of all we have to see number of carbon atom. Lesser carbon atom, lesser boiling point, and then we have to see the branching. For first two the carbon atom are 3, and for last 4 the carbon atom are 4. Normal butane is also there, normal butyl chloride. First two have 3 carbon, last 4 have 4 carbon atom. Now for first we have to arrange the haloalkane with 3 carbon, so more branching, lesser boiling point. So first will be isopropyl chloride as least, then normal propyl chloride, then tertiary butyl, more branching, lesser boiling point, then isobutyl chloride, then secondary butyl, more surface area, more boiling point, and finally normal butyl chloride. Keep it in mind, first we have to see the carbon atom, then we have to see the branching, more branching, lesser boiling point. Next question may be about solubility. Generally the haloalkanes are water insoluble. Now question may be there, why? Haloalkanes cannot form the hydrogen bond with water, that's why they are generally water insoluble. Haloalkanes are generally water insoluble due to lack of hydrogen bonding. Now we have to discuss about the chemical properties of haloalkane, and previously I have mentioned haloalkanes are known as organic tools in hands of organic chemists. And if you and we understand the concept of haloalkanes, then there will be no difficulty to study other chapters, or we can remember other compound easily. So be attentive. So haloalkanes, they are known as organic tools in hands of organic chemists, and they can show following 3 types of reaction. The first one is nucleophilic substitution reaction. First type of reaction they can show, that is nucleophilic substitution reaction. Second type of reaction may be elimination reaction. and third type might be reaction with metals. Reaction with metals. Haloalkanes can show only three types of reaction. First one is nucleophilic substitution, second one is elimination reaction, and third one is reaction with metals. Here, first of all, we have to discuss about the nucleophilic substitution. Generally, haloalkane will show nucleophilic substitution due to polar nature of carbon halogen bond. Haloalkane will show nucleophilic substitution reaction due to polar nature of carbon halogen bond. Due to polar nature of carbon halogen bond. Now, we have to discuss about the mechanism. Generally, the nucleophilic substitution reaction take place by two mechanisms. Generally, the nucleophilic substitution reaction take place by two mechanisms. The first one is SN1 mechanism, and this topic is very important for board exams as well as competitive exam. And the second one is SN2 mechanism. The nucleophilic substitution reaction take place by two mechanisms. One is SN1 and the second one is SN2. Now question might be there regarding their difference. What are differences between SN1 and SN2? Please try to understand this concept it is a very important topic. That's why I am requesting you to understand this carefully. Here, first question might be there regarding their full form. SN1 stands for substitution nucleophilic unimolecular. Substitution nucleophilic unimolecular. SN1 stands for substitution nucleophilic unimolecular, while SN2 stands for substitution nucleophilic bimolecular. Substitution nucleophilic bimolecular. As from the full form we are getting impression, here rate of reaction will depend on only one concentration term. Rate depends on single concentration term. Of haloalkane. As rate law equation will be R is equal to K into concentration of Rx. Here, rate depends on two concentration terms. Rate depends on two concentration terms. Two concentration terms of haloalkane and nucleophile. So, rate law equation is R is equal to K into concentration of Rx into concentration of nucleophile. Next, it gets completed in two steps. It gets completed in two steps. And first step is this slow step or rate determining step. Slow step or rate determining step. Slow step or rate determining step. And in this step, the carbocation is generated. In this step, carbocation is generated. Generally, the tertiary haloalkane will show this reaction in presence of a base or nucleophile. The carbocation is generated. That's why the rate law equation is R is equal to K into concentration of Rx. SN2 mechanism that can get completed in single step. And transition state is formed. transition state is formed. Transition state is formed. Here, backside attack will take place. Nucleophile will attack from the backside, due to which a transition state is formed, and that leads to formation of the desired product plus halide. Here, two steps are there, and the second step will be the fast step. So, attack of nucleophile will take place. Attack of nucleophile take place, and we will get the desired product. Now, next thing will be in SN1 mechanism, the reaction intermediate is formed. In SN1 mechanism, reaction intermediate is formed, but in SN2 mechanism, no reaction intermediate is formed. Next point, in SN1, no transition state is formed, but in SN2, transition state is formed. Next point I am telling, very important one. For SN1, the reactivity order will be primary, then secondary, then tertiary. For SN1, the reactivity order of haloalkane will be primary, then secondary, then tertiary. But for SN2, the reactivity order will be tertiary, then secondary, then primary. Now, question might be there, why? For SN1, reactivity order is primary, then secondary, then tertiary. For SN2, reactivity order is tertiary, then secondary, then primary. SN1, it is due to stability of carbocation form. It is due to stability of carbocation form. For SN2, it is due to steric hindrance. SN2 due to steric hindrance. Next very important point. In SN1, the configuration is generally retained. The configuration is generally retained, and racemization takes place. Generally retained, so racemization takes place. In SN2, the configuration is inverted. The configuration is inverted. Hence, SN2 is stereoselective as well as stereospecific. SN2 is stereoselective as well as stereospecific. Next, for SN1, there must be presence of polar solvent, polar protic solvent. For SN2, there must be aprotic solvent, there will be there. SN1, concentration of haloalkane should be low. For SN2, concentration of haloalkane should be high. And on basis of this, we can decide whether the reaction take place by SN1 mechanism or SN2 mechanism. It is a very important topic. Generally, question may be there in your exams. Few questions I am discussing here. The first question is, may be, out of these three, which is most reactive for SN1 mechanism? Out of these three, which is most reactive for SN1 mechanism? First one is normal butyl chloride. Second one is isobutyl chloride. Third one is tertiary butyl chloride. And fourth one is secondary butyl chloride. I have mentioned for SN1 mechanism, reactivity order is primary, then secondary, then tertiary, due to stability of carbocation formed. Hence, tertiary butyl chloride is most reactive among these four. Tertiary butyl chloride is most reactive for SN1 mechanism. For SN2, it might be normal propyl. SN2, it might be normal propyl, and for SN1, it will be tertiary butyl. Next question may be, out of CH3Br and CH3I, which is more reactive for SN1 or SN2 mechanism? Out of CH3Br and CH3I, which is more reactive for SN1 mechanism or SN2 mechanism. Here we have alkyl group is same. Then we have to see the size of iodine, the halogen atom. Easily will be the living capacity of that halogen. More will be the reactivity. Hence, CH3I is more reactive than CH3Br. CH3I is more reactive than CH3Br because of living capacity of iodine is better than bromine due to larger size. Next question may be, a molecule is given, here two reactions are given to us, C, B, A, B, C and X is given. It is going to be replaced by Y and product form are these one. And question is there, which reaction is showing SN1 mechanism? Which reaction is showing SN1 mechanism? Then answer will be second one. Second one is showing SN1 mechanism because the configuration is retained. The first one is showing SN2 because configuration is inverted. Now, one more thing is there. Apart from these mechanism, one more mechanism is also possible, and that is known as SNI mechanism, or that is also known as NGP, neighboring group participation. SNI full form will be substitution nucleophilic internal. Substitution nucleophilic internal. NGP full form is neighboring group participation. Neighboring group participation. And during this, the retention of configuration take place even through the SN2 mechanism. According to this mechanism, the reaction take place by SN2, still the retention of configuration may take place, and that is known as SNI mechanism or neighboring group participation. Now, I have discussed here the term stereoselectivity, racemic mixture. For that, we have to discuss a topic that is the optical isomerism. Previously in GOC we have discussed, but I am repeating here too because it is also an important topic for this chapter. What do you mean by optical activity? First, we have to know what we mean by optical activity. Hence, word optical is used, so it is related with light. Keep it in mind. So, optical activity means the compounds which have same molecular formula but different behavior towards plane polarized light, they are known as optical isomers. Those compounds which have same molecular formula but different behavior towards plane polarized light, they are known as optical isomer, and this property is known as optical isomerism. And the optical activity is studied in a device that is known as polarimeter. The optical activity is studied in a device that is known as polarimeter. Optical activity is studied in a device that is known as polarimeter. Now, I am showing the diagram of the optical activity or a polarimeter tube. First, we have to take the ordinary light. We have to take the ordinary light, and that ordinary light can vibrate in all direction. So, first we have to pass it through a polarizer. First we have to pass it through a polarizer, due to which it gets restricted to vibrate in a single plane, and such a light is known as plane polarized light. Such a light is known as plane polarized light, and when it is passed through an ohmic sample, when it is passed through an ohmic sample in a polarimeter tube, it gets diverted from their original path. it get diverted from its original path either in right hand side direction or in left hand side direction, and that property is known as optical activity. So optical activity or optical isomerism studied in device polarimeter. The diagram I have shown. First question may be what is polarizer and from which substance is made up of. Polarizer is the device which is used to restrict ordinary light to vibrate in a single plane. Polarizer is the device which is used to restrict the ordinary light to vibrate in a single plane, and such light is known as plane polarized light. Now, a law is related with it, and that law is known as Beer-Lambert law. Beer-Lambert law, and according to this law, the specific angle of rotation for an optically active compound is inversely proportional to length of the tube in decimeter and concentration in gram per ml. That law is known as Beer-Lambert law. Now, numerical may be there in objective exams regarding this. Now, we have to discuss what is optical activity. Optical activity means the rotation of plane polarized light when passed through the Ornick sample. Rotation of plane polarized light when passed through the Ornick sample, that is known as optical activity, and the compound is known as optically active. And the optically active compound can be of two types. The optically active compound can be of two types. First are dexarotatory. Optically active compound can be of two types. First are dexarotatory, denoted by small plus or small d, and second one are levorotatory, denoted by minus or small n. Those substances which rotate plane polarized light in right hand side direction, they are dexarotatory, and which rotate in left hand side direction, they are known as levorotatory. Now we have to understand which compounds can be optically active. Which compounds can be optically active? So keep it in mind, only those compounds which are chiral, only those compounds which are chiral or which are asymmetric in nature can be optically active. Generally, those compounds which are chiral or which are having asymmetry in them can be optically active. And to be optically active, the molecules should not have following element of symmetry. The molecules should not have following element of symmetry, and the first one is center of symmetry. First symmetry element which should not be present in a molecule, that is known as center of symmetry. That is known as center of symmetry. Now, question is there, what is center of symmetry? Center of symmetry is the imaginary point through which, when a line is drawn, it made two similar groups at equal distance. I am repeating, center of symmetry may be defined as imaginary point through which, when a line is drawn, it made two similar groups at equal distance, that is known as center of symmetry. And the place where center of symmetry is not present, that is known as chiral center. That is known as chiral center. So first conditions to be optically active is presence of chiral center. Presence of chiral center. For example, 2-chlorobutane is having a chiral center, that's why it is optically active. 2-chlorobutane is having a chiral center, that's why it is optically active. So first conditions to be optically active is that the molecule must have chiral center. Next is plane of symmetry. Plane of symmetry may be defined as the imaginary plane which divide the molecule in two halves which are superimposable on each other, that is known as plane of symmetry. Imaginary plane which divide the molecule in two halves which are superimposable on each other, that is known as plane of symmetry. And those compounds which are having plane of symmetry are known as mesocompounds. For example, molecule is there 2,3-dibromobutane. Molecule is there 2,3-dibromobutane. See here, two chiral center are present. Two chiral center are present. Still, it is optically inactive. Still, it is optically inactive because it is having a plane of symmetry in it. Two parts can be superimposed on each other, and such compound which are having two chiral center and still are optically inactive, they are known as meso compounds. And this compound is known as meso 2,3-dibromobutane. Question may be there. Meso 2,3-dibromobutane is optically inactive. Why? Then reason is simple one, because it contains a plane of symmetry or internal compensation. Now, the third symmetry element which shouldn't be present in a molecule to be optically active, that is the rotational axis of symmetry, or simply axis of symmetry. Rotational axis of symmetry is that axis about which, when a molecule is rotated, then similar configuration occur more than once in one complete rotation. I am repeating, the imaginary axis about which, when a molecule is rotated, the similar configuration occur more than once in one complete rotation, that is known as rotational axis of symmetry. If either of these is present, then molecule will be optically inactive, and if all three are absent, then molecule will be optically active. Now we have to discuss about types of optical isomers which may be in your exams. Optical isomers basically can be of three types. Optical isomers can be basically of three types. The first one is enantiomers. First are the enantiomers. Enantiomers are those compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. Enantiomers are those compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other and rotated plane polarized light up to same extent but in opposite direction. I am repeating, enantiomers are those compounds which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other and rotated plane polarized light up to same extent but in opposite direction. Those are known as enantiomer. For example, D-glyceraldehyde and L-glyceraldehyde are example of enantiomer. D-glyceraldehyde and L-glyceraldehyde are enantiomers of each other. D-glyceraldehyde and L-glyceraldehyde are enantiomer of each other. Next are mesoisomer. Mesoisomer, I have explained, are those compounds which are having two chiral center and still are optically inactive. Meso compound are those compounds which are having two chiral center and still are optically inactive, are known as meso compound. As I have explained, 2,3-dibromobutane, that is the example of mesoisomer. Next are the diastomers. Diastomers. Now question may be there, what are diastomer? Diastomer are those compounds which are not mirror images of each other. Diastomer are those compounds which are not mirror images of each other and rotated plane polarized light up to different extent. Rotated plane polarized light up to different extent, they are known as diastomers. For example, a molecule is there, CH3, Br, CH, CH, Br, CH3. 2,3-dibromobutane can exist in three forms. Second one is both Br on same side, Br, H, CH3, and third case might be Br on left hand side of first carbon and then Br on right hand side on second. 2,3-dibromobutane can exist in three forms generally. Now question might be there in exams, which two are the enantiomers? Here first and second, keep it in mind, first and second are the enantiomers. First and second are enantiomers. Second and first third and first, they are diastomer of each other. They are diastomers of each other. And second one is the mesoisomer. Second one is the mesoisomer. I hope you understand the concept of enantiomer, diastomer and mesoisomer. Now, next case may be racemic mixture. Question may be their exam. What are racemic mixture? Racemic mixture. Racemic mixture. Racemic mixture is denoted by plus minus. From this, we are getting impression. Racemic mixture is that mixture which contains the enantiomer in equal amount. Racemic mixture is that mixture which contains the enantiomer in equal amount, and the racemic mixture will be optically inactive due to presence of equal amount of the enantiomer. Question might be there, plus minus 2,3-dibromobutane is optically inactive. Why? Then reason is simple one, because that contains the enantiomer in equal amount. Next is the resolution. What do you mean by resolution? Resolution means separation of the racemic mixture into its component. Separation of racemic mixture into its component, that is known as resolution. Next question may be there, what are epimers and anomers? That is a very important term for biomolecules. Epimers and anomers. Epimer are the compound which have difference in configuration at first carbon. Epimers are those compound which have difference in configuration at first carbon. They are known as epimers. First carbon which are known as anomers. Keep it in mind, sorry. Anomer are the compound which are having difference in configuration at first carbon, and epimer have difference in configuration at second and fourth carbon. I am repeating. Epimers have difference in configuration at second and fourth carbon, while the anomers have difference in configuration at first carbon. Epimer example is alpha D glucose, and epimer may be the glucose and mannose, while for anomer there may be alpha D glucose and beta D glucose. In biomolecule we will discuss. Now, the diastomer can also be of two types. Diastomers can be also of two types. The first one are arterioform, and second one are therioform. Arterioform and therioform. Arterio means when two same group are on same axis, that will be arterioform, and when two same group are on opposite axis, that is therioform. So we can say that the arterioform will be optically inactive, while therioform will be optically active. Now we have to discuss about the configuration. I have discussed the optical activity here in total. There can be two types of configuration for optically active compound. The first one is relative configuration. Relative configuration. Relative configuration, and that is also known as D and L configuration. Relative configuration and D and L configuration, and this configuration is assigned on basis of a standard compound glyceraldehyde. This configuration is assigned on basis of a standard compound glyceraldehyde, and if OH group is on right hand side, then will D form, and OH group is on left hand side, then it will be L form. So we can generalize it. If OH or NH2 group, OH or NH2 group on right hand side, then it will be D form, and OH or NH2 group on left hand side, then it will be L form. Generally, D and L nomenclature is used for carbohydrate and alpha amino acid. Carbohydrate and alpha amino acid, and that is the main drawback, because all compound cannot have NH2 or OH group. Hence, the absolute configuration is assigned for these compound, and the absolute configuration is also known as R and S configuration. Absolute configuration, that is also known as R and S configuration, and that was being assigned by use of CIP rules. R and S configuration is assigned by use of CIP rule. Now question may be there, what is the full form of it? Full form will be Chan Ingold Prelog rule. Chan Ingold Prelog rule. And according to this rule, first of all, we have to assign priorities to the groups attached to the chiral carbon. We have to assign priorities to the groups attached to the chiral carbon, and those priorities will depend on atomic number of the elements. The element with higher atomic number will get higher priority, and if the first element is same, then we have to compare the successive element. For example, here for diglyceraldehyde, OH gets first priority, CHO second, CH2OH third, then fourth. Now we have to make a rotation to bring fourth priority group at bottom. We have to make a rotation to bring the fourth priority group at bottom. Then it will be 1, 2, 4, 3. And one more rotation is done to keep the cyclic order same. One more rotation. We have to make two rotations, keep it in mind. For first rotation, we have to bring the fourth group at bottom, and then one rotation is compulsory to compensate this angle rotation. So here we can make a other rotation between 1 and 3. So it comes out to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have to rotate our eye from 1 to 4. We have to rotate our eye from 1 to 4. If the fourth priority group, and in doing so, we go clockwise. If we go clockwise, then configuration will be R. And if we go anti-clockwise, then configuration will be S. I am repeating, it is a very important topic for objectives. First, assign the priorities to the different groups attached. Priorities are assigned on basis of atomic number. If first element is same, then successive element are compared. After deciding priorities, we have to bring the fourth priority group at bottom, and one more rotation is done to make the compensation of this angle rotation, and cyclic order will be kept. That's why we will get the rotation here 1, 2, 3, 4. So diglyceraldehyde will be in R form because we are moving clockwise, and if we have moved anti-clockwise, then it should be S configuration. Now there is a golden rule for it also, and according to golden rule, we need not to make the rotations. First assign priorities, and if fourth priority group on a horizontal line, fourth priority group is on a horizontal line, and we have to rotate our eye 1 to 4 clockwise. 1 to 4 clockwise, then our configuration will be S. Fourth priority group on horizontal line 1 to 4 anti-clockwise, then configuration will be R. But if fourth group is on vertical line, and 1 to 4 rotation clockwise, then R. 1 to 4 anti-clockwise, then configuration will be S. Position of fourth priority group will decide. On horizontal line clockwise S, anti-clockwise R. Vertical line 1 to 4 clockwise R, anti-clockwise S. Now I am taking more example on basis of golden rule. Let's take the case of meso 2,3 dibromobutane. Meso 2,3 dibromobutane. You will see here very interesting thing. There are two chiral center on it. First, I have to do for first, second carbon, then for third. For second, Br get first priority. The bottom will get second, methyl third, fourth. Now see, fourth group is on horizontal line, and we have to rotate our eye through 2 to 4. We are going clockwise, but fourth on horizontal line, then it comes out to be 2s. Then it comes out to be 2s. Same way we have to done for third. First, second, fourth. Now we are moving anti-clockwise, and for anti-clockwise it comes out to be R. And keep it in mind, for meso compound, if one is in R, then other will be in S. Then other carbon will be S. If one is S, then other will be R. Keep it in mind for meso compound. That's why they are optically inactive. Now I am taking the optically active form of it. Let's suppose CH3 is there. Br, H, Br, CH3. Second one we have done. That comes out to be 2s. Now we have to discuss about the third carbon. For here, bromine first, second, fourth, third. It comes out to be S. So it will be 3s, 2s. So for an optically active compound, keep it in mind, both should have same configuration. I hope you understand this concept. It is very important for your objective exams. Now we have to discuss number of isomers for an optically active compound. First case may be if molecule is asymmetric. No symmetry element is there. Then number of optically active compound will be 2 raised to power n. Meso compound will be 0, and total compound will be 2 raised to power n. Total isomer will be 2 raised to power n, where n is the number of chiral center. Next case may be molecule is symmetric, and n is even. So optically active form will be 2 raised to power n minus 1. Meso form will be 2 raised to power n by 2 minus 1. So total form will be 2 raised to power n minus 1 plus 2 raised to power n by 2 minus 1 when n is even. Now case is symmetric and n is odd. Here optically active form will be 2 raised to power n minus 1 minus 2 raised to power n minus 1 by 2.